Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of What Happened. Today we're diving into one of the most dramatic stories in recent K-pop history. A story that involves corporate warfare, legal battles, and a group that went from being called monster rookies to being trapped in a lawsuit that nearly destroyed everything they built. This is the story of NewJeans, and trust me, this saga has everything. Overnight success, betrayal, creative genius, and a fight that literally split the K-pop industry in half. Picture this, it's July 22nd, 2022, and out of nowhere, a music video drops on YouTube. No teasers, no member reveals, no countdown. Just a song called Attention and 5 girls nobody had ever seen before. This wasn't how K-pop debuts worked. Groups spend months building anticipation with concept photos and teaser videos. But NewJeans, they just showed up and said, "Here we are, deal with it." And you know what? The world did more than just deal with it. They fell head over heels in love. That surprise debut was the brainchild of Min Hee-jin, and if you don't know who she is, you need to understand this woman basically shaped modern K-pop visuals. She spent 17 years at SM Entertainment as a creative director, working with everyone from Girls' Generation to FX, from SHINee to Red Velvet. She was the mastermind behind some of the most iconic concepts and album designs in K-pop history. So, when HYBE poached her in 2019 and gave her her own label called Adore, people were paying attention. The thing is, Min Hee-jin didn't want to make just another K-pop group. She wanted to create something that felt authentic, something that reminded people why they fell in love with music in the first place. And with NewJeans, she did exactly that. These 5 girls, Minji, Hani, Danielle, Harin, and Hyein, brought something to K-pop that had been missing for years. Genuine, effortless charm. Let's talk about how insane their debut was. Attention hit the charts like a freight train. Within days, it climbed to number 9 on the Melon Daily chart, setting a new record as the shortest time for a girl group debut song to enter the top 10 in 3 years. Then it went to number 3, then number 1. But that was just the beginning. The next day, they dropped HYBE with not 1, not 2, but 4 different music videos, one for each member's perspective. Now that's the kind of creative thinking that made Min Hee-jin legendary. The song was this perfect blend of moonbottom and electropop that somehow felt both retro and futuristic at the same time. And don't even get me started on the choreography. That point dance became so viral that everyone from other idols to random TikTokers was doing it. Then came Cookie. And let me just say, this song sparked some controversy. Some people thought the lyrics had sexual innuendos, which Adore strongly denied, explaining it was about baking cookies and burning CDs, which use the same verb in Korean. But controversy or not, the song was undeniably catchy and showed NewJeans' range. Here's what's crazy. Their debut EP, NewJeans, sold over 262,000 copies on its first day alone. That broke the record for any K-pop girl group debut album. We're talking about 5 teenagers, most of whom were completely unknown, outselling groups that had been hyped for months. And on Spotify, they racked up over 2 million streams on day 1 in Korea alone. But the real testament to their impact was how they dominated the charts. All 4 tracks from their debut EP, Attention, HYBE, Cookie, and Hurt, simultaneously entered the top charts. For weeks, Attention and HYBE held the number 1 and 2 spots on Korean Spotify. This wasn't just success, this was a complete takeover. What made NewJeans special wasn't just their music, it was their entire concept. Min Hee-jin crafted this girl next door image that felt refreshingly authentic in a world of overproduced perfection. Their styling was simple but impactful. Their music videos had this dreamy, nostalgic quality, and the girls themselves just seemed like real teenagers rather than manufactured pop stars. The group's name itself was genius marketing. NewJeans played on the idea that jeans are timeless. Every generation has their own style, but jeans never go out of fashion. It was also a play on new jeans, suggesting they were bringing fresh DNA to pop music. And honestly, that's exactly what they did. By the end of 2022, NewJeans wasn't just a successful rookie group. They were a cultural phenomenon. They were dubbed monster rookies by the industry, and that term doesn't get thrown around lightly. They swept rookie awards at every major ceremony, and their influence on fashion and beauty trends was undeniable. Then came December 2022, and they dropped Ditto. If you thought their debut was successful, Ditto was on another level entirely. The song spent 13 weeks at number 1 on the Circle Digital chart. 13 weeks. That's almost a quarter of the year. It became their first entry on the US Billboard Hot 100, peaking at number 82, and hit number 95 on the UK singles chart. The success continued into 2023 with their single album, OMG. The title track was another hit, and by this point, NewJeans had established themselves as not just successful rookies, but as legitimate top-tier artists. They were breaking records left and right, their streaming numbers were insane, and they had become global ambassadors for major luxury brands like Chanel, Dior, and Louis Vuitton. But here's where our story takes a dark turn, because success in the K-pop industry always comes with a price. And for NewJeans, that price was about to become devastatingly clear. The problem started in April 2024, when news broke that HYBE was conducting an audit of Adore and its CEO, Min Hee-jin. Now, corporate audits in the entertainment industry are serious business. But what made this particularly shocking was the accusation. HYBE claimed that Min Hee-jin was trying to take control of Adore and essentially steal NewJeans away from the parent company. Min Hee-jin's response was immediate and explosive. She held a press conference that became legendary for all the wrong reasons. Crying, swearing, and speaking with raw emotion, she denied trying to steal the company but admitted to planning ways to protect NewJeans from what she saw as HYBE's interference and mismanagement. But the real bombshell was her accusation that HYBE had been systematically sabotaging NewJeans' success. She claimed that HYBE's new girl group, Elite, had copied NewJeans' concept, styling, and even choreography. She accused the company of plagiarism and said they were trying to replace NewJeans with a group they had more control over. The evidence she presented was damning. Side-by-side comparisons of outfits, choreography moves, and even marketing strategies showed striking similarities between Elite and NewJeans. Whether you believed it was intentional copying or just industry trends, the similarities were undeniable. Now, here's where things get really messy. In most K-pop disputes, the artists stay quiet and let the companies fight it out. Not this time. In September 2024, all 5 NewJeans members held their own live stream without company permission, demanding that HYBE reinstate Min Hee-jin as Adore's CEO by September 25th, or they would take action. This was unprecedented. I cannot stress enough how unusual it was for K-pop idols to publicly take sides in a corporate dispute. These were teenagers, some still minors, going up against one of the biggest entertainment conglomerates in the world. October 15, 2024, became one of the most talked about days in K-pop history when Hani, one of the NewJeans members, testified at the South Korean National Assembly about workplace bullying. With tears in her eyes, she told lawmakers how a manager from another HYBE group had told their artists to ignore NewJeans members. It was heartbreaking to watch and sparked a massive conversation about idol treatment and workplace conditions. When their ultimatum deadline passed and Min Hee-jin wasn't reinstated, NewJeans did something that shocked the entire industry. On November 28, 2024, they held an emergency press conference at 8:30 p.m., way past typical business hours, announcing that they were terminating their exclusive contracts with Adore effective immediately. The legal arguments they presented were fascinating. They claimed that Adore had breached their contracts by creating a hostile work environment, failing to protect them from defamation, and not properly supporting their activities. But the most damaging claim was that the company had violated their duty of care by exposing them to unnecessary stress and mental health issues. Adore's response was swift and brutal. They denied all claims and stated that the contracts were legally binding until 2029. They threatened legal action and demanded that the members return to work immediately. When NewJeans refused, Adore filed for an injunction to prevent the group from operating independently. The legal battle that followed was unlike anything K-pop had ever seen. Here, you had 5 young artists, the youngest just 16 years old, going toe-to-toe with a multi-billion-dollar corporation in court. The case became a lightning rod for discussions about artist rights, mental health, and the power dynamics in the entertainment industry. For months, NewJeans existed in this legal limbo. They couldn't release music under the NewJeans name, couldn't perform at major events, and couldn't sign with another company. They briefly tried to rebrand as NJZ and performed under that name at a few small events, but even that was shut down by court orders. The members tried to maintain their connection with fans through social media and small appearances, but it was clear that the legal battle was taking its toll. They looked exhausted in public appearances, and fans could see the stress they were under. Throughout 2025, the case dragged on through various courts and mediation sessions. the members remained united in their stance, insisting that they couldn't return to a company that had mistreated them and broken their trust. Ador, backed by HYBE's massive legal team, argued that the contracts were ironclad and that the members were simply trying to escape their obligations. Then came October 30th, 2025, the day that changed everything. The Seoul Central District Court ruled in favor of Ador, stating that while the relationship between the company and the members had deteriorated, mistrust wasn't sufficient legal grounds to terminate binding contracts. The court upheld the validity of their exclusive contracts through 2029. The ruling was devastating for NewJeans fans and sent shockwaves through the K-pop industry. Here was a court essentially telling young artists that their emotional well-being and work environment concerns weren't enough to free them from contracts they no longer wanted to honor. But plot twist, just weeks after saying they would appeal and never return to Ador, the members began announcing their returns to the company. First Haerin and Hye-in on November 11th, then Min-ji and Hani shortly after. Each announcement cited careful consideration and respect for the court's decision. The most surprising development came on December 29, 2025, when it was announced that while Hani would return to Ador, Danielle's contract had been terminated entirely. She was officially out of NewJeans. The company stated that they determined it would be difficult for her to continue as a NewJeans member and Ador artist. As I'm recording this, discussions about Minji's contract are still ongoing, meaning NewJeans' final lineup remains uncertain. What we know is that they're down to 4 members, they're back under Ador's management, and their future is completely unclear. So, what actually happened to NewJeans? They were a group that achieved unprecedented success as rookies, only to get caught in the crossfire of a corporate power struggle that nearly destroyed everything they built. They became pawns in a larger game between their creative director and the company that owned their contracts. The sad reality is that this story highlights everything that's wrong with the K-pop industry. You have incredibly talented young artists who became global superstars, but their success made them valuable assets in a corporate dispute they never asked to be part of. They went from being celebrated as the future of K-pop to being trapped in a legal battle that consumed over a year of their careers. Min Hee-jin, the woman who created NewJeans, eventually left HYBE entirely and started her own independent company. She released a statement wishing the members well, but made it clear that the NewJeans she envisioned was over. The creative partnership that had produced some of the most innovative K-pop of recent years was officially dead. What makes this story particularly tragic is that NewJeans proved that K-pop could be different. They showed that you didn't need over-the-top concepts or manufactured drama to connect with audiences. Their music was genuine, their personalities were authentic, and their impact was undeniable. But the industry's corporate machinery ultimately consumed them. The legal battle also set a concerning precedent for other artists. The court's ruling essentially said that artistic differences and workplace concerns weren't sufficient grounds to break contracts, no matter how young the artists or how toxic the environment. It reinforced the power imbalance between companies and artists that has plagued K-pop for decades. Today, NewJeans exists, but they're not the same group that took the world by storm in 2022. They're missing a member, they're under the control of a company they publicly fought against, and their creative director, the person who made them who they were, is gone. They're likely to continue making music and performing, but it'll be under completely different circumstances than what made them special in the first place. The most heartbreaking part of this whole saga is that these were just kids when it started. Hye-in was only 14 when NewJeans debuted, and by the time the legal battle was over, she had spent some of her most formative years caught up in corporate warfare. That's not what anyone dreams of when they decide to become a K-pop idol. But here's what's remarkable about NewJeans. Despite everything they went through, their music legacy remains intact. Songs like Attention, Hype Boy, and Ditto are still considered classics. Their influence on K-pop aesthetics and concepts is undeniable. They proved that authentic artistry could triumph over manufactured perfection, at least temporarily. Their story also sparked important conversations about artist rights, mental health support, and the need for industry reform. While they may have lost their legal battle, they won something arguably more important. They showed young artists that it's possible to stand up for themselves, even if the odds are stacked against you. So, what happened to NewJeans? They experienced the highest highs and lowest lows that the K-pop industry has to offer. They achieved unprecedented success, got caught in a corporate war, fought for their artistic freedom, lost in court, and ultimately had to rebuild under the very system they tried to escape. Whether they can recapture their original magic remains to be seen. Music is about more than just the artists. It's about the creative team, the vision, and the circumstances that bring everything together. All of those elements have fundamentally changed for NewJeans. Their story serves as both an inspiration and a warning. An inspiration because they showed that authentic artistry can break through industry formulas and connect with people worldwide. A warning because it demonstrates how quickly success can be overshadowed by corporate politics and how little power even the most successful artists have when they go up against the machine. As we wrap up this episode, I want you to remember NewJeans for what they achieved, not just what they lost. They gave us some of the most beautiful, innovative K-pop music of the 2020s. They influenced an entire generation of artists and fans. And they showed remarkable courage in standing up for what they believed in, even when everyone told them they couldn't win. The future of NewJeans is uncertain, but their impact on K-pop is permanent. They changed the game, even if the game ultimately changed them back. That's it for this episode of What Happened. What do you guys think about the NewJeans saga? Do you think they made the right choice returning to Adore, or should they have continued fighting? And what does this case mean for artist rights in K-pop going forward? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that shaped K-pop. I'll catch you guys in the next one.